man, you need to buy yourself a gun. What? Gun? What? Like a handgun. For personal protection. What if somebody tries to mug you? What? What if your government tries to throw you in a can? What? You're gonna want a shotgun. Oh. What? One automatic rifle. And a lot of ammo. Gun? Yeah, gun.
We're all set to riot. Buy a gun. Before you lose your Second Amendment. Buy a gun. They'll burn you out like a Waco. They'll stick your ass in a camp. Jack booty cops in riot gear. Gonna kick your ass and laugh. The revolution is on its way. Better lock and load your AK. Buy a gun, 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 buy a gun. Before you wish you bought a gun. Buy a gun, 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 buy a gun. Before you wish you bought a gun. We're all set to riot. Buy a gun. Before you lose your Second Amendment. Buy a gun. They gave your money to the banksters. They stole your pension funds. It's time that we took to the streets. It's time we had our turn. A revolution is on its way, and the founding fathers would say, buy a gun, 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 buy a gun. Before you wish you bought a gun. Buy a gun, 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 buy a gun. Before you wish you bought a gun. You got a riot in the streets. Revolution's not clean and neat. You got a riot in the streets. Revolution's not clean and neat. You gotta drag them through the streets.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. This is Primer Time. My name is Michael.
Hey, and I'm Dan. How you doing, Michael?
Not too bad, Dan. You got Hal with us tonight?
Hey, Hal.
Howdy, how's everybody doing?
Terrific.
Good to hear you, man.
Get to shoot any this week?
I didn't get to do
Unfortunately,
anything.
Dan, I did not.
No, huh?
No.
I got to shoot a little bit. I was shooting, so I got to quit after 3 rounds.
Sometimes you have to retire with the title, Dan.
I hit a target, 2-inch target at over 100 feet. 2 out of 3 times with a 22. It's time to quit, I think.
That's pretty good. That's
With
what
these
most
tired
people do,
eyes,
and
yes.
Congratulations.
With these tired eyes,
Congratulations
it's
on
great.
getting that.
Yeah, it amazes me. You just line the blur up as best you can, you know.
Yeah, aim for the middle blur. Yeah, I understand that. What's the 22 long rifle situation in your area?
It's coming back a little bit, Michael. It's down to like $50 a brick, which is 10 cents a round.
Well,
There's not super quantities of it in the area, but they're coming in with some buckets every now and then at the gun shop. You know, they're getting some, and they're not trying to rate people on the price or anything like that. So I guess 10 cents a round is the norm now.
Well, this is 10 cents a norm on private sales and at gun shops. What about at the big box?
There's none at the big boxes around here. Whoever,
Okay.
I guess the employees are scarfing it.
Well, we got
All
a
right,
Bass
well-
Pro Shop. We got a Bass Pro Shop that's just opening up here in Brandon. I'll bet they'll have some.
And they'll have employees scarfing it too, probably.
I don't know. They down in South Florida they had quite a bit of ammo and stuff down there too.
That happens in
I
your
don't know.
area, doesn't it, Michael? Then one person buy up all the ammo basically and then sell it on.
It has happened in the South Houston area. That has happened, but I have noticed in my area that at the big box store there has been 22 long rifle and 22 Magnum. The big sports retailer is limiting you, of course, to 1 box. If it's a brick, you get 1 box. If it's a box of 50 or 100, you can have 2 boxes. They still have the really super expensive Federal Premium at like $17.99 for a box of 50. But they did have 333 Winchester CCI Maxi Mags in 22 Magnum, and a couple different types of CCI ammunitions, velocitors. They had standard pistol, and then a new one, which was CCI's green ammo. which is a copper dust and polymer mix, and it's a 21 grain bullet, and it's 1650 feet per second. And but it's seriously light. It's half the weight of a standard.
Would it even go through a leather jacket? Is my question about that ammo.
It says it's a plinking ammo on the box.
And another question: will it cycle a semi-automatic pistol?
I would think that it wouldn't. I think that just a 21 grain bullet wouldn't create enough pressure.
It doesn't seem like it doesn't have enough umph behind it. What do you think, Hal?
You know, I really don't know. The jury's out on that. I don't know. It's going to have something to push on, but it's going out at 1,600 feet per second. That's going to try to push something back, I would think.
At close range, I agree with you. But anything over what?
No, I'm talking about cycling. I'm talking about cycling the mechanism.
Yeah. See, that's my question: is would it cycle a small semi-automatic pistol? I don't think it would.
With a revolver, it'd work good with a revolver, I'm sure. But you know, shit, I'm not into that foo-foo ammunition. I'll be honest with you. I want a chunk of lead or a piece of copper.
Well, I don't think this is foo-foo ammunition. To be honest with you, I think this is the path that it's going to take, because it's a copper polymer mix. There is no lead in it. And so and they market it as a green ammunition.
Bio-friendly ammo.
Right. Which I don't understand how throwing polymer out there, which never degrades, is better than lead, which is an element. I'm sorry.
That doesn't make any sense, does it?
Right. And
I think they'll come out with something else. I don't think we're just going to frangible bullets and plastic to hold it together. I think they'll come out with something else that will work. I don't buy that.
There is a speculation on the primers with the lifespan, and I think that's sort of scary, and I think that should kind of behoove everybody to buy good current production ammunition now while you can. I wouldn't want to have ammunition that has a 6-month lifespan or a 1-year lifespan. If the powers to be deem it that we need ammunition for a year.
So the primers degrade. That's what they're headed for, is degrading primers.
Right. With a definite lifespan. There is a patent number. Fortunately, I'm not on a laptop tonight. I have limited access, or I'd give you the patent number, but it's out there. If you wanted to search limited life primers, the patent number for that, you'd find it.
And there's also, I saw this article about a limited life firearm too. It's one that it's matched to the person and only you can fire it. Now, I don't think those are going to go over very well. A firearm specific only to you. I guess it has your fingerprint or something. I don't know how it works exactly. But
yeah, this isn't the one that they tried to sell recently that has the watch.
Yeah, that's correct. It's not the watch type, not the one with the watch.
Oh man, let me tell you something. You know damn well the reason they want to put a firearm out there for everybody to have with a chip in it is so when they come knock on your damn door, they can just make it render it useless. I mean, let's cut to the chase.
Render an entire area's firearm useless. Yeah, that's a definite possibility.
Makes perfect sense about it. And it's not a firearm you can hand down. There's no really collector value in it. There's not much in it, and except for self-defense, I guess, if it works. But
at that point, I'd almost rather see somebody with a disposable firearm, say something that was made out of a polymer with like a light aluminum lining that fired a 48 caliber pellet that was powered by like Pyrodex pellets or something. And once you fired it, that was gone.
You're right, Michael, and that's a great lead in. During the Vietnam War, they dropped those Liberator pistols. I don't know.
No, that wasn't Vietnam. That was World War II.
World War II, yeah, that's right.
World War II.
The Liberator pistols. And Hal, tell us about those. You know a lot about them.
Well, those Liberator pistols were dropped behind the enemy line because the guys, they didn't have, they take all their weapons like they're trying to do to us right now. So what this country did was boxed up a bunch of these little pistols that they made, the 45 pistols that were, they dropped them with a box. They had a box that had 10 rounds in it. And what the object was is for the people to get one of these pistols and acquire a better pistol with it, like an AK-47 or whatever weapon the guys had. And the way they would do it is they would sneak up on them and shoot them, or they would walk up to them. A couple of them would walk up to them, and two guys standing guard duty and ask them for a light for a cigarette or something like that. And when they went to get it for them, they'd shoot them in the head and take their weapons from them and take their ammo. That way they got a better gun right out of the chute, so they could arm themselves.
Yeah, these things were
that was exactly what
the Liberators. They were made out of a stamped piece of tin or something like that. And
yeah, they were
very cheaply made,
sheet metal looking thing with a barrel on it. They were real cheap looking things. They looked almost like a freaking toy.
Like a 1-inch barrel on them.
To take out the fired cartridge or the fired case, you actually had to shove a dowel down the barrel.
It had a wooden dowel to knock the spent round out with. But you're only supposed to use it once, and then you're supposed to have yourself a real gun. That's
right. Now, there are stories that it actually took longer to fire it, unload it, and chamber a new round than it took to actually make these things. The cost at the time was somewhere in the $2 neighborhood, $2 and.
It says that it has been calculated. The average assembly line time per pistol was 6.6 seconds.
Wow.
Well, it was a stamping machine. Bam, done.
And they made how many of these things and dropped them?
500,000. It said.
500,000 of them. Wow.
500,000 of them. And they boxed them up, and then they did the whole thing in paraffin wax, so it'd be somewhat waterproof, so they could drop them, and then everything would still be it would still work. Sounds like a good idea to me.
You know, Hal, I just looked on Gunbroker, and for a smooth $2,300, you can own a real one of those Liberator pistols that took 6 seconds to produce.
It's the history behind it, Dan.
That's what amazing?
Yeah, but those were 6 seconds in 1943, so that was a lot of, you got to go with inflation, right?
Oh yeah, I didn't think about that.
So we looked at the price of the production of one. It turns out to be $2.64 in 1944, and what does that come out to be now? $35, something like that.
30 some bucks, yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
30 some bucks.
They are pretty neat. Pretty neat piece of history. They really are.
They made a similar
like
pistol
1911 better.
Yeah, what was that you were telling me about, Michael? The 9mm version. What's it called?
It's called the Deer pistol, and it was it made in much smaller quantities. I believe there was only 10,000 of those made. And they were to be dropped all over South Asia to assist with rebel activities or something like that. And I don't believe that a lot of them actually got distributed in that fashion. And a bunch were destroyed. And that's another rare one. But that was in 9mm. Very, very similar concept.
So basically the same thing, a fast production, cheap gun to take somebody's good gun with, right?
That's right. That's right.
And that's, you just got one of my favorite AK variants, which is, the RPK. Tell us about
that's a pretty nifty one. It just goes to show that not the only precious metals in the world are the gold and the silver. You've got blued steel and walnut as well. That's a fairly precious metal, I'm thinking.
That's correct.
I ended up making a straight trade. I had a Sterling 9mm carbine, and people may not be familiar with it. It's very similar to a Sten gun. It was manufactured starting in 1949, I believe, is the first year of manufacture. They made them up into the 70s, and it was an improvement on the Sten gun, and it was a very, very simple stamped and tubular metal 9mm carbine. Well, I traded that straight across for an RPK, which is a very, very nice heavy-barreled, long-barreled, heavy receiver AK variant. It comes with a bipod. It's really kind of a nifty toy.
It shoots the standard com block round 7.62 by 39, correct?
That's right, and it feeds from standard AK magazines or the drums. And actually, as an aside, the drums that people have for AKs were actually designed for the RPK.
Huh.
It also comes standard with bipod on the front of it to raise it up.
That's right. And it's a very simple bipod, but very effective. They're about a foot long, and they're on a swivel mount, and it's very loose, so it would clank, strap it down, but there is a strap for it, and it does have a carry handle because it's significantly heavier than an AK-47.
How much does that thing weigh?
I'd say it probably weighs about 11 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah. It's got a different style of buttstock. It's got a more squared off buttstock that's made out of a plywood, it appears to be, and a real rough oil stain on it. It
laminated
does have
wood, isn't it? It's just laminated wood. Is that all? That's what it's made out of, correct?
I would, yes, laminated wood. It's just plywood is what it looks like to me.
Wow.
And, it really, honestly, I wouldn't be seriously impressed with the workmanship of it, but it is a very nice weapon, aside from the cosmetic features of it. Something I do like, and might call me funny for it, but I like the pistol grip on it. It's a really old Russian Bakelite, and you don't really see that anymore. Bakelite is a type of plastic, and an older type of plastic, and it's got swirls in it, and it's kind of pretty looking, I think.
It's hard plastic, yeah, very, very hard, very durable.
Kind of like a bowling ball is made out of.
Very similar, yeah. And then it's got a carry handle on it. Carry handle's well needed and placed in the exact right spot. It balances well with it. I'm looking forward to taking it out.
Does it have a scope mount on it, or a way to mount a scope on it?
It does have it has a side rail, which is pretty much the way that all Eastern European designs for mounting a scope are. The concept of putting a rail on the top is an American design, and it's not actually readily adaptable to the AK series, just because of the where the sights are placed and the dust cover. So it does have the side mount for it.
But that's a good, those side mounts, they lock up pretty tight.
Yeah, they do.
Nothing wrong with that design, I don't think.
I don't think I'm going to put any optics on it. That's just outside my realm again.
Okay, all right. It's just a neat gun with a long barrel. I'm sure it's a nice long range.
Really nice. A few years before that, Norinco of China had imported one, and they called theirs the NHM 91 Hunter, and it was basically an RPK, the same barrel length, without all the fancy accoutrements that this one has, such as the bipod and the spade grip, flash hider, the whole nine, yeah, that stuff. And it looked more like a hunting rifle, and those were very much the exact same thing. I'm really happy with it. I'm really looking forward to taking it out. Probably going to be pricey when I take it out.
Well, what are sub 62 by 39 rounds going for right now, by the way?
I've seen them from anywhere from 25 to 35 cents a round.
Okay, that's not too bad.
Yeah, not bad.
You can have a little fun with that. Not feel guilty, I guess.
Yeah, not too much fun though. Yeah, it's the prices have definitely gone up, but it did appear that the 22 long rifle is coming back in short spurts. It appears. I mean, the word gets around.
Yeah, yeah. Here at our gun shop, we can't get mass quantities of 22, but we are getting some 22, which that's pretty good for people to walk in looking for 22 and have some for them to buy there at a decent price.
Well, I'm pretty sure that every gun shop now actually does have 22, and if they don't have any out on the shelf, they do have it if you purchase a firearm from them.
That'd be a good selling point, wouldn't it? Somebody that's not aware that 22 is back yet.
When the ammo was real hard to get, that's what the gun shops here were doing. They would, you couldn't just go in there and buy a bunch of ammo, but if you bought a weapon, they'd sell you a couple boxes.
So people were buying weapons to get a couple boxes of ammo.
Well, no, if you did, what they were doing, that's not what that wasn't the reasoning behind it. The reasoning behind it was if they didn't have ammo and somebody bought a weapon, what good is it?
Well,
so what they were doing, they were saving the ammo for people who bought weapons, and that made sense. But now, that's the ammo's coming back, so they don't do that so much anymore. But it's still, ammo's a little higher. I get several flyers in email from different places, and the price of some of the stuff's coming back down to where it's reasonable. And when I say reasonable, it's reasonable. But then if you buy it online, then there's shipping involved, so you got to pay a little bit for that. But it's at least we're starting to see some of it come back.
Yeah,
That's a good thing.
To me, I can't see how, especially if you were starting out reloading, I don't see how you could. It would be you could make any or save any money on anything right now. It seems to me.
Well, it's hard to get supplies because the price of them is marked up, and the once fired brass that used to be a ton of it. There's places you can still get it, but it's not as economical as it was. The one thing that I have to say about hand loading your ammo is when you hand load your and stuff like that, you can you can use the different kinds of powder. You can it's worthwhile. I think it's worthwhile to do.
Plus, you can maintain your quality control yourself, right?
That's what I was trying to say. Quality control yourself, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep, sure can.
Make sure each bullet's the same weight. Weigh all your bullets and all that. I can see it like a Marine sniper would go through. I think they spend the whole day just putting 10 bullets together or something like that, don't they? Some of the training and stuff like that. I've heard of things of that, the sniper school.
Well, they've got stuff now that weighs things a lot more accurately than they used to. So things have come a long ways as far as being able to replicate ammo.
Well, I'm aware that PMC of South Korea electrically tests all of their ammunition.
Electrically tested? What do you mean?
What's that?
How do you?
I would imagine that they apply an electrical current to it and check for changes, and the changes would indicate whether or not it's a good or a bad round.
Got me there.
Similar to cathodic protection.
So they're measuring resistance between 2 points, and if the resistance is at the right number, then it's a good round. They can tell then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Every round they make is checked that way.
Wow.
And I would have to say that I have seen in a few places in our local gun shop, the private dealer, he does have the same pack of it's a 300 round battle pack of 9mm PMC. I'm sure it's 125 grain or 124 grain brass case stuff. He's got it selling right now for $199, but I have seen it for $109 online.
So he's wanting 66 cents a round for that stuff now, basically.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh. So yeah, that's doing a lot better than gold is right now, I think, or silver.
Yeah, it's taken. Who would have thought that brass was the precious metal?
I would. I did.
Yeah, I always have.
Except when gold was going crazy, and it climbed all the way up to 1900 or whatever it was. That was amazing. But I always firmly believed that bullets was the most precious metal of all of them.
Well,
I'm going to have to agree with you on that. And recently, I've we've had a few trades. I traded a pistol for a motorcycle.
A pistol for a motorcycle.
Right.
Okay. How much did you have in the pistol? Let's go through this deal here. What'd you trade for? And
I traded a Browning high power. It would have been. It would have. But it was. I think it was a good trade. It was a made in Belgium, assembled in Portugal.
Oh, okay. All right. Knock $100.
It had tangent sights on it, and it had the big bright orange front sight, and it did have Packmeyers on it. And I also threw in a holster, and it was actually an older Galco shoulder holster, and a box of 9mm, a Winchester 100 round bulk box, and 2001 Kawasaki Ninja.
That is wild. A 2001 Kawasaki Ninja, huh?
Yeah, it's a 250cc, and yeah, it runs, and it's nothing flashy. It's red, and it looks like a big mean bike, but it's good for putting around town, and it gets 60 miles a gallon. So.
Well, that was a pretty good trade. What kind of condition was the high power in, though? I gotta ask that.
The high power's in pretty good condition. I'd say if you're gonna put it on the 100% scale, I would say it was probably about 90%.
90%, huh? I don't know.
It had been shot.
But an actual Ninja motorcycle that's running. So somebody was just with a firearm. How'd you run across this deal anyway?
Well, it appears to me that guys who like firearms kind of like to make deals when it's available. And these kind of people run in circles. I'm sure you got friends that like to wheel and deal.
Oh yeah. But I mean, you heard this guy had a motorcycle he's wanting to trade for a high power or a firearm or what?
Yeah, for a firearm. And he was new, and it's a nice pistol to start with, and I've explained to him that it is one of the better 9mm pistols, an older design, and
so he really didn't know what he was getting there.
Right.
I'm glad he got a good pistol.
That's right. I personally, I would, if I'd had the opportunity to trade a lesser quality pistol for that motorcycle, I don't think I'd have done it because it wouldn't have been right. It wouldn't have been. I would have been taking advantage of him because I know both subjects. I know the motorcycles, fairly well, and I know the Browning high powers.
You didn't have a 9mm high point to trade in for that motorcycle? Are you telling me?
I would have felt bad about that.
You got it for under $200, Michael. Good grief.
Yeah, but that would have left a black mark on my soul, Dan, and I just couldn't deal with it.
But a deal is a deal, right?
But I'll tell you what, it does lift the front wheel.
Oh, that's cool. That is neat, really. I mean, so what'd you have in that gun total? $500-600 maybe?
I would have said I'd had that pistol for quite a while, so I'd say that I maybe got it for in the 3.5 to 4 range.
3.5 to 4 range. So
I couldn't get the exact price.
And that motorcycle, I'll guarantee you, it's probably a $2,000 bike today if it's a penny, right?
I'd say probably worth $1,500. So
yeah. So you can sell it tomorrow on Craigslist if you wanted to.
There are values in the firearms. Like you said, anything with a pony usually climbs through the roof, except for the All-American 2000. They are a medium of exchange. People want them. It's a wanted item, and I think it's something to not be overlooked.
That's true. Let's talk a little bit about aftermarket grips, because that's something that you can enhance your shooting with just changing the grip on your firearm. And there's some pretty neat ones out there too. There's laser grips that It enhances everything about your firearm, in my opinion. And what you were talking about, Michael? What was the grip you were talking about?
It's from a company called Hogue, Houge, and it's for J-framed revolvers. And a J-frame revolver is a small, like the revolver that you always saw the detective carry in the TV show. It's the small snub nose, small frame 5-shot revolver. I personally like a very much smaller grip in a revolver. I don't necessarily like a large grip because I've always found revolvers to be quite large on their own, even in small calibers. They're definitely not as thin as a semi-automatic.
Yeah, they're a hunk of metal. They're a hunk of metal for sure.
And I just think that the large grip ends up making it a less of a concealable weapon. So I personally, in a small revolver, I like a very small grip. And Hogue makes a boot grip, which is very well priced. I purchased mine for less than $20, and it was an easy installation. They basically just snap right in. Hogue provides you with a little tool, and it goes right on. Howie, you said you like the Packmeyer grips.
Yeah, I got Packmeyers on mine, and I love them. They fit. They really they enhance the shooting of the gun a lot.
The finger groove
quite a difference.
Now I've got a different set of grips on a 22 pistol I got. It's a Mark II target pistol, but it's got the grip fits your hand real good, and it's got a place to rest your thumb up on it. And you can you get a real good hold with it. I like that grip too. But the
competition grip, I think is what they call those. Hal.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Got a thumb rest on it.
That damn thing shoots really nice. But when I put those Packmeyers on that Diamondback, and it shot a lot better than the grips that come on it. The grips that come on it were kind of thin at the top and heavy at the bottom, and they didn't have a real good feel to them. And that Packmeyers, you put your hand on that, and they just go right around it. It feels real good.
Yeah, being a lefty, I always had trouble finding those competition grips. But I did find some for a Smith Model 41 and a couple other pistols. But
these were on the gun when I got it.
Typical.
They were real good.
Grips can be quite varying in prices, too. Quite a large difference in prices. Packmeyer grips are quite a bit more expensive than Hogue grips.
Why is that? Just the name or the design, quality? What's the deal?
I would think it's a little bit of all. Packmeyer grips are usually like 2 or 3 pieces. And
Hogues are just a one-piece grip that you slide
one piece.
frame.
I think of a less expensive, less durable rubber than a Packmeyer. Packmeyer's a lifetime grip. I think you'd agree, right, Hal?
Yeah, they've been on there for a long time. I put them on there yesterday.
Now, are they finger groove type grips?
There's in the front of them. They are.
Yeah, where each finger has a little groove to.
Yep, and it's got a texture on the side, so when you grab it, the gun's secure.
Yeah, those are great grips. I know what you're talking about now.
I find those to be just a little bit large for a concealed carry.
That's true. It depends on what your use is. You know, if you're just going out to the range to shoot some, then those are great grips. I've got some 44, a single 6, Ruger single 6, 44 Magnum, I think. They're great grips for a big gun like that, but you know, you're not going to be carrying that around anywhere with it.
They work well with the Smith & Wesson 686s also. They do have a tendency to tame the recoil a little bit over the standard hardwood grips that come with them.
I had a 22 single 6, the Ruger single 6, and that was a real nice gun. That thing shot super accurate. Single action 22, and that thing shot like a rifle, man.
An older revolver.
Yep.
Correct?
Yep.
They don't make them like they used to.
Look like an old cowboy gun.
Yeah, they just
That's
don't
right.
like they used to.
Ruger now makes a new one. They call it the single 10, and it's got 10 shots.
Yeah.
And they also make the single 9 in 22 Magnum with 9 shots. They're no longer an interchangeable cylinder, though.
They got some of those 357s that's got 7 shots, isn't it? A 7-shot cylinder on it.
I think Smith & Wesson has an 8 or a 9-shot cylinder now.
Dude, that's a big one.
So Ruger no longer makes a conversion kit, conversion 22 mag and 22.
I don't think they make the single 6 with the conversion kit anymore. I think last year was the last year for that. Now they've moved everything to the single 10 and to the Bearcat, but the Bearcat never had a conversion kit. So now I think they just want you to buy one pistol and then a pistol rather than having the convertibility between them.
I read something the other day that's a good reason to go out and buy a pistol if you don't have one. It's 36,000 criminal immigrants released into the streets, the U.S. streets in 2013. Did you guys hear anything about that?
No. What's
Absolutely not.
How many?
Yeah.
How many?
36,000 in
Criminals?
in 2013. Listen to this. Over 36,000 criminals, including almost 200 murderers, were released back into the U.S. by immigration officials in 2013. The figures were gathered by Immigration and Custom Enforcement, ICE, and were outlined in, they give a document, criminal 36,000 criminal aliens released by the Center of Immigration Studies. According to CIS, the 36,000 criminals were collectively convicted of 88,000 crimes. These convictions included 426 sexual assaults, 303 kidnappings, 193 homicides, 1,317 domestic violence assaults, and 1,724 weapon offenses. The report states that the immigrants were being processed for deportation at the time they were released. So they were getting ready to deport these guys, and the federal government told them to let them go.
Put them back on our streets.
Now, what's wrong with this picture?
Oh, good grief! That's ridiculous. That's almost as ridiculous as the cop shooting the 93-year-old woman. But
it's crazy. What we see going on is it defies logic anymore. There's no logic being applied to anything. It's just insane. That's insane. That is insane. Or to my thinking, it is anyway.
Well, of course it is.
Well, it's not acting in the interest of the people. That's for damn sure.
Well, I don't see much of that happening anymore anyway.
Now, Michael, I want to talk about
Not
this
at all.
cop shooting a 93-year-old. Now, as I understand it, the 93-year-old did have a firearm, and they did brandish it and rip off a round. Is that correct?
I believe she shot twice in the direction of the officer. She did not shoot at him. From what I understand, the bullets went into the ground.
And so she shot into the ground. Okay, so he legitimately had a reason. He could legitimately kill her if he wanted to. Why didn't he just wound her? Is my question.
Yeah, the 93-year-olds put up less of a fight once you shoot him in the knee.
Well, guys, he feared for his life. I mean, come on, let's.
That's right. Well, and he had that great training from, those former Mossad members that, train every damn sheriff's department in the nation, but whatever. So he lost his job. The city council was outraged and they fired him. Well, he's going to get his job back. But I truly believe that he was fired
wait a minute.
based on the outrage.
He lost his job and he's going to get it back. He's going to get his job.
I believe he'll get it back. The police have a very, very strong union, and even in non-union states, the police union is active, and they have a right to a hearing, and he'll get his job back. That's almost guaranteed.
And if he doesn't get his job back, what he will do is go to a different place and go to work there.
That's right.
They did that. That's been going on here forever, and that's
but
what they
not
do.
only, but he'll also take a large settlement with him.
Take what now?
He'll take a large settlement with him.
I don't doubt that.
So once again,
all I know
John
is
T. Public is on the hook. Absolutely, John T. Public is on the hook again.
The taxpayers pay off another crime.
If the citizen does something, any little infraction that will prevent him from being able to get to owning a firearm. Once that goes on your record, you're done. They will nail you if they find you with a firearm. when a cop does something that the same thing would happen, nothing ever happens to him. How many ex-cops have you ever seen in your entire life that no matter what they got off the force for, that still didn't have the right to carry a gun? Think about that for a minute.
Well, half of them can't shoot anyway, Hal.
It don't matter, but what I'm saying is they can legally own a gun, and you can't for the same damn shit.
Well, that's true.
That's real true.
And there's cases where the commission that tells people they're allowed to be cops, it's called the Post Commission in Tennessee. You know, they waive crimes that some of these guys have committed in their past and stuff. You know, and also less than honorable discharges. They waive some of those and let these guys be cops. You know, they must be really hurting for policemen.
No, they're looking for a certain kind of person to be a cop.
I think that's 100% correct.
I think so too.
Yeah, it seems that way. You have to have
militarization of police is really a concern, and it's truly a concern for me, because I know that the job of the military, and I like to thank our members of the military. I like to give a shout out to my brother Nick. But
yeah, shout out to Nick for sure, guys.
Is to crush the enemies of the state. That is the military's job. The job of the police is to protect the public. And when the military becomes the police, the people become the enemy. And I think we're seeing that.
I think we are too. We're seeing more and more of it anyway.
Hey Dan, you know what I think I'm gonna do? That video we were talking about.
Yeah.
I'm gonna post that in chat.
Post that so people need to listen to that. We're not gonna have time to play it tonight, but people definitely need to listen to this guy named Larken, Larken Rose, and he's got quite a fascinating video about when you should shoot a cop. And everyone needs to listen to this. Quite a history lesson.
It is a history lesson and a half. And if anybody that takes the 14 or 15 minutes it takes to listen to it, it will enlighten them for sure.
Well, let's see. We got time. Let me see if I can play this thing. I'll try to play it.
It's awesome.
Hey, this is Larken Rose, and I just had to quick throw together a video about an article I wrote many weeks ago, actually, called When Should You Shoot a Cop? It was published on copblock.org, and it has since made news at least 2 or 3 times. Now, of course, the title When Should You Shoot a Cop is going to make people freak out. And hardly everybody actually read the article, but just did the knee-jerk reaction. In fact, I'm going to read the first paragraph of the article because it perfectly sums up the way most people respond. Again, it was, when should you shoot a cop? That question, even without an answer, makes most law-abiding actors into knee-jerk reactions. The indoctrinated needs to see who can be first, loud, to proclaim that it is never okay to forcibly resist law enforcement. In doing
I think we lost the video, guys.
Yep. It's gone. I don't hear it anymore. Video's gone.
At an Occupy...
it's back.
I think it was. Something down in Arizona. It wasn't me who handed them out. Had I been there, it would have been. So somebody handed them out, and it made national news that, oh, look what they're handing out at the Occupy this, that, or the other thing events. And I heard tell that Glenn Beck read some of the letter. Of course, he didn't read the whole thing, and I don't think he gave the name to make sure people couldn't actually look it up to see what else it said. I should quick mention how the mainstream media, when it reported this, in a lot of places they talked as if we think we might know who wrote this article, as if it was some clandestine conspiracy. I wrote it. It has my name on it. It's out in public. I say these things in public all the time. I don't speak for the Tea Party. I don't speak for Occupy Wall Street. I speak for me. And if you don't like what I say, try addressing what I say instead of having tantrums about things I didn't say. Now, what was fascinating to me is that as soon as this made it in the media that this was being handed out at an Occupy whatever event, the right-wing statists all jumped on board to say, see what these Occupy Wall Street types are like? They want violence, they want lawlessness. And I hate to break it to you, but I'm not one of the Occupy Wall Street types. Almost as quickly, the left-wing statists turned around and said, no, that's what the Tea Party believes. That's what you right-wing statists believe. So basically, I wrote something. Two groups who don't believe what I believe started pointing their fingers at each other, saying, this is what you believe, this is what you believe. So, grow a spine. If you want to point fingers, point it at me, because I'm the one who wrote it, and I don't believe what either of those groups believe. We have a few things in common on both sides, but before you point a finger and have a tantrum, try actually reading the thing instead of complaining about things you guess I might have said. One of the main themes of the article is that throughout history, most mass evil has not been done in spite of law enforcement. It's been done in the name of law enforcement. You look at the regimes of Stalin and Mao and Hitler and Pol Pot and go right down the list. What they did, they called law. They legislated it, and then they had their law enforcers go out and implement evil. So, when people say, oh, that's horrible, it's dangerous, apparently Glenn Beck said this is the dangerous stuff that's out there, is talking about forcible resistance. Oh, really? What's the alternative? The alternative is that absolutely anything a government wants to do to you, you have to let it. No matter what. Wants to pile you on cattle cars? Well, it's totally evil to talk about resisting, so we better not. Wants to shut everybody up, wants to disarm everybody, wants to make it a practice to randomly search people and then interrogate them and for no good reason. Well, you have to just let them, because apparently it's uncivilized to talk about actually resisting. Now, earlier, before the Arizona thing, down in South Carolina, some Republican, I think it was Kershaw County Republican Party, whatever, somebody there clicked like on my article, like on Facebook, which doesn't mean I absolutely agree with everything. It just means, hey, look at this. And a bunch of other Republicans in the Kershaw County Republican Party just had a fit. Oh, we can't have this. We must drum him out. Rah, rah, rah. Because they're unthinking, spineless, brainless cowards. And let me tell you why I say that. And why Glenn Beck is an absolute hypocrite and an intellectual wimp. Because he also said, this is dangerous, we can't have this, let's not talk about this. Let's go through some of the other people that Glenn Beck should shun, that the South Carolina Republicans should shun, that the mainstream media, left and right, everybody, shun these people, condemn them as evil and horrible, and don't associate yourself with them in any way. Number one, Thomas Jefferson, who said that no people can preserve liberty unless, quote, its rulers are warned from time to time that this people preserve the spirit of resistance. And then he specifically said, let the people take up arms. What do you think he was talking about? Going like this? Waving guns around? He was talking about the possibility of using violence against the state to resist tyranny. Number two, George Washington. You better condemn him and shun him and don't talk about him anymore, because he openly advocated that the people should always be more heavily armed than, quote, any who might attempt to abuse them, which would include their own government, end quote. In other words, George Washington wanted the people to be able to win in a shootout with their own government. Now, you may not like to hear that. You may not like to talk about it. It's not a very pleasant subject when you talk about using deadly force. But this is going to be a pretty long list of people that you have to condemn and distance yourself from, whether you're on the left or the right, if you think it's totally horrible to discuss the use of physical force against law enforcement. Number three, James Madison. He advocated having a militia which greatly outnumbered and outgunned the government's own soldiers, saying that, quote, a militia thus circumstanced could never be conquered by such a proportion of regular troops. In the creation of this country, they were planning on having the people retain the ability to violently resist their own government. If you don't like to hear that, tough turds. They all talked about it. Number four, Patrick Henry, give me liberty or give me death. What do you think that meant? Give me liberty or I'll whine a little bit and vote later on? As another quick aside, when Patrick Henry spoke of liberty, he said, quote, "Unfortunately, nothing will preserve it but downright force. Whenever you give up that force, you are ruined." He wasn't talking about petitions and elections and working within the system. He was saying freedom requires forcible defense. Benjamin Franklin said that democracy is two wolves and a lamb voting on what to have for lunch, and added that liberty is a well-armed lamb contesting the outcome of the vote. Got that? He was talking about the use of violence to fight against a democratically appointed but tyrannical government. Alexander Hamilton said he wanted average citizens to be armed so they could, quote, "stand ready to defend their rights and those of their fellow citizens against their government's own enforcers." To be armed against your own government. Well, you better never mention Alexander Hamilton again, because he's nasty and horrible and we can't have any talk about that. Noah Webster openly discussed the use of violence against law enforcers when he opined that the United States government, quote, "cannot enforce unjust laws by the sword because the whole body of the people are armed and constitute a force superior to any band of regular troops that can be on any pretense raised in the United States." And he added that because of that, Congress can, quote, "execute no laws but such as the people perceive to be just and constitutional." What was he talking about? He was talking about the people deciding that their own government was doing something unconstitutional and resisting using guns. If you don't like the discussion, fine. Just don't pretend you believe at all what any of the founding fathers believed. And of course, the list wouldn't be complete without mentioning a particularly radical anarchist-type document called the Declaration of Independence that says that whenever any government becomes destructive of individual liberty, it is the right and duty of the people to alter or abolish it. Now, do you think they meant asked nicely? Well, what did they do right after they wrote the Declaration of Independence? They shot at law enforcers. Ever heard of the Battle of Lexington, the shot heard around the world? The law enforcers said, "lay down your guns." And they didn't. They didn't say, "well, we're going to petition the king." They didn't say, "well, we're going to vote." They said, "no. And if you want to have a shootout, we're going to have a shootout." So there's another bunch of people you can condemn if you don't like the discussion about when to resist legal tyranny. Now, just to add to the list of people you should condemn and never associate with, how about the Supreme Court of the United States? Check out their ruling in John Bad Elk versus United States, where they ruled that using even deadly force against a law enforcer, if he's acting outside of his authority, isn't necessarily a crime at all. So you better shun them, because they talked about it too. Of course, the list goes on and on forever. Basically, anybody who's ever had a brain has understood that if you want freedom, you have to retain the ability and willingness to forcibly resist people who want to enslave you.
That's pretty much why we do this show, I think. He pretty much sums it up, don't you think?
Does to me. Makes perfect sense, and everything the guy said was spot on. And who can disagree with it when the founding fathers, the ones that wrote all this stuff, telling us how this country should be run, they also put that in there too. And
That's right.
What we have allowed to have happen is we've allowed a bunch of lawyers and a bunch of judges to get up there and completely redefine everything that was written in plain and simple English so everyone could understand it. That's the part that pisses me off the very most about what I see happening in this country. This country has been taken over. We don't own it anymore. They're not working for our benefit anymore. We are nothing but we're human resource to be used up. And that's exactly what they're doing to us.
Yeah, there's
and
no protect and serve.
More and more people are starting to find that out every day. You wait till a couple million, 2 or 3 million more lose their jobs, and then we'll see what happens. Because this isn't going to be turned around at the voting booth. This isn't going to be turned around in a courtroom. It's simple as that. It's way past any any possibility for that to happen. And that's the reason we see the police state that's built up around us right now, for that very reason. And the reason we see so much gun control coming on in this country is exactly what he was talking about. They know this is coming, and they want us disarmed, so we won't have anything to say about it. The only thing that puts any teeth on anything that's written down on a piece of paper is armed citizens.
That's correct. Second Amendment protects all the other amendments.
Amen, brother. Without it, we're done.
The firearm is your last best way to say, no, I do not comply.
Well, all the other ways sure don't seem to be working. They either are deaf and they can't hear, or they're simply not paying any attention to us. But the one thing that we have all seen happen in the last 10 years is the explosion of the police state all across the country. And, might I throw in there, most of the police have jumped right on that bandwagon. And you have to look no farther than what we saw happening in that clusterfuck that was Boston. That shows everybody. 2 guys and 9,000 cops take over the entire city, declare martial law, and go door to door. Something's radically wrong when we see things like that happening and people are saying nothing about it. They're not saying anything about it because they're scared to death.
It's conditioning, I think, Hal. They're just conditioning people for...
You can call it whatever you want to. It's cowardice.
Yeah, well, it's amazing that they shut down whole blocks and demanded to go look in everybody's closets and everything, you know.
And still didn't find a damn thing until somebody went outside and pointed. There he is. And what do?
Hiding in the boat.
They go up to the boat and just put several hundred bullet holes in the boat and still didn't kill him.
That is amazing.
Just like the situation that went on down in Miami that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
370 rounds into a Volvo. And the 2 people sitting inside weren't even armed. Well,
not only were they not armed, but they shot other cops.
Well,
that's the
wait a minute. 377 rounds. Just think about that for a second. That is a lot of rounds.
Yeah,
that's like 25, 22, 23 something 15-round magazines, man.
I'm just thinking, 15-round magazines, that'd be 20 of them, right? 2 and 10 guns, 10 firearms.
You know what? There's only one answer to this. They obviously didn't have enough ammo. They need more magazines. So maybe they ought to just carry a little push around basket. They can carry extra magazines in, so they don't give out ammo. They can just
a little red wagon of ammo.
A little red wagon of ammo. That's what I'm talking about.
Maybe they'll fit in that MRAD vehicle that they're all getting now, possibly.
Oh, jeez.
You know, it is a militarization of the police. Hal, you're absolutely correct on that.
We got to hit the 4 firearm safety topics, guys. The 4 firearm safety. We got to hit that. So, number 1 rule: every firearm is loaded until you actually visually and physically check that firearm to make sure it is not.
That's absolutely correct, Michael. And, the number 2 rule is, you're always aware of where that muzzle is pointed and, which direction it's pointed. Never point it towards a person or anything like that. And the 3rd rule is know what your target is and what's around your target and what's behind your target, because you're not going to hit it every time. And what's that 4th rule, Michael?
Damn it, gentlemen, keep your booger hook off the bank switch.
Yep.
Guys, everybody, just keep your finger off the trigger. Do not put your finger on the trigger until you're ready to discharge the weapon.
Boy, what a fast hour, Michael. I want to say thank you to Jules. As I understand, we've got some new shows getting ready to come on board here real soon. Looking forward to that. And Prepper 6 coming up next. Another shout out to Nick and the guys over there. And Michael, take it away.
I'd like to thank you guys. I'd like to thank UCY, everybody who's listening. Thank you very much.